Lucy texted me a while back to share a story about his aunt, asking for advice. His aunt encountered this situation about 4 to 5 years ago. Lucy's aunt's family was considered among the poor in their small village. Lucy's aunt had a tough life, losing her parents early. She and her sister grew up relying on each other. While Lucy's mother was luckier to marry into a family with a market stall, Lucy's aunt was left behind, feeling abandoned. Despite Lucy's mother's attempts to bring her sister into the family business, the aunt felt uncomfortable imposing on her in-laws, so she moved away to work as a laborer. Years later, she met and married a man who also struggled financially. They both moved to Saigon to work as laborers, but life in the city was harsh. They returned to their hometown, renting a small place and taking up jobs as a janitor and a construction worker. Despite their hard work, they barely made ends meet. Even with their efforts to save, they were always short on money. The aunt often collected scrap at night to earn a little extra. Life was hard, but the family got by with occasional help from kind-hearted people. One night, while working late after cleaning up after a party, the aunt heard a chicken clucking loudly. The sound followed her through the dark alley, no matter how fast she pedaled her old bicycle. Frustrated, she stopped and muttered a curse, and the clucking suddenly ceased. She knew something eerie was at play, so she rushed home. As she neared her house, a black object suddenly darted in front of her bike. Relieved, she thought it was her lucky day, finding a lost chicken. She picked it up, noticing a red string tied around its leg, and brought it home. The next day, she proudly showed off the beautiful chicken. It seemed too pretty to eat, probably a prized pet from a wealthy household. Despite its beauty, they decided to cook it. When she cut the chicken, the blood was black instead of red. Alarmed, Lucy's mother advised her not to eat it, sensing something ominous. However, the aunt dismissed the warning, thinking not eating it would be a waste. The chicken tasted strangely delicious, so she stored the leftovers in the fridge. That night, the aunt left for work, as usual, but didn't return by morning. Her son took his sister to school and waited for her, but she only came back at noon, exhausted and disoriented. She explained that she had fainted on her way home and woke up in a cemetery, far from her route. Her bike was left at the cemetery entrance. From that day, she could only drink water, her stomach swelling painfully, her skin turning dark and purple. Lucy's family was frightened and told the children not to eat the chicken. When they checked the frozen leftovers, they were moldy and emitted a foul odor. Suspecting food poisoning, they took the aunt to the hospital, but the doctors found nothing unusual, diagnosing her with exhaustion and digestive issues. However, her condition worsened. She began having hallucinations, staying in bed all day, demanding the windows be sealed to block any light. As night fell, her strange behavior intensified, marking the beginning of their true nightmare. No matter what anyone said, she wouldn't respond. But around 7 p.m., she would get ready and leave the house. If anyone tried to stop her, she would curse and scream. Her youngest child grew more and more terrified of her. One night, the child ran to Lucy's house, crying, saying that they saw their mother in the kitchen, mumbling as if talking to someone in the dark. This continued for over a month. The aunt had to quit her job to take care of the children, finding work washing dishes nearby. At this point, everyone thought she was possessed. However, with barely enough money for food, where would they find money for a spiritual healer? Hearing advice from neighbors, her husband and Lucy's mother visited a monk. The monk, after hearing the aunt's story, said that she was being haunted by a spirit of a child she had aborted but did not properly appease. They had to perform a ceremony to send the spirit to the temple for peace. Despite the financial strain, Lucy's family managed to arrange the ceremony. The monk gave them 2 protective charms, one to be placed at the entrance and one under the aunt's pillow. After the ceremony, the aunt seemed clearer-headed, no longer wandering at night, and resumed her daily routine, to the family's relief. Although she wasn't completely back to normal, it seemed the monk had diagnosed her correctly. The family went back to the temple to offer thanks, hoping the worst was over. But just a week later, the aunt became aggressive again. This time, she wouldn't sleep or wander at night. Instead, she would drag her youngest daughter, who was in 3rd grade, out of bed each morning, preventing her from going to school, wandering aimlessly all day. She started seeing everyone as a threat, claiming to have the 3rd eye that could see future dangers. She had truly lost her mind. Her youngest daughter began having recurring nightmares. Every night, she dreamed of a man in a red robe standing outside their window, and a little child pointing at her, crying, "Help, Mom, quick, or they will take her away." After dreaming this for several nights, she told her father, who was now very alarmed. The family now suspected it was not just the spirit of the aborted child, but something far more sinister. Lucy's mother recalled the black chicken with the red string and suggested they visit another spiritual healer. This healer, upon hearing the aunt's story, immediately said that she was bearing the ill fate meant for someone else, and that a token object might be in their house. They needed to find and destroy it to sever the spiritual connection. Following this advice, they located the family of the previous tenant, who revealed that their daughter, born in 1994, had gone mad after returning from studying abroad. She had been confined at home for years but had recently recovered and was about to get married. It seemed likely that Lucy's aunt was now suffering in place of this girl. The family searched for the red string, eventually finding it tied in the youngest daughter's hair one night. The daughter was found outside in the moonlight, staring into a water jar, seemingly entranced. When her brother tried to bring her inside, he saw the red string. She turned to him with bright, glowing eyes, causing him to run in terror to wake his father. When they returned, she had collapsed. They took both mother and daughter, along with the red string, to the spiritual healer. The healer burned the string, performed a ceremony to break the spiritual bond, and gave them blessed water to drink. He then instructed them to release a black feathered rooster, tied with a red string, at a crossroads and push it into a pond. After the ceremony, the aunt and her daughter returned to normal. She later recounted that she had been aware of everything but felt imprisoned, unable to speak or call for help, constantly threatened by the spirits. Therefore, if you ever come across something strange on the street, don't pick it up. It could be an item meant to carry someone else's misfortune, just like in Lucy's aunt's story.